Alrighty, in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, so we are off and running, fellas. Today, I've got Steve, and I'm going to butcher his last name, and he's going to correct me, so hang in there. Osterberg.
Yeah, you got it, man.
Close, Osterberg. Yeah. And I have Aaron Crotts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and this is coming from the guy with the last name of Schmidt, so we are across the board on names here today. But what we're going to try to stay in more or less the same line of is they are both heavy metal musicians. I know that's a broad, typical. We can get into that metal conversation later. But both of them play in a band together. I'd say we're all pretty good friends, really good friends in my opinion. Great people. And we're going to have a nice little time today, and it's going to be good. So how are y'all fellas doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. The last few months have kind of been a whirlwind for me. And, you get to that point where you're keeping busy all the time. It's good for some, not as good for others. For me, I've realized it's actually really good for me to stay occupied. Sometimes I'll be like, man, I just want to chill out and get away from it all. But that's not always a good thing, dude. It really is kind of better for me to keep the momentum going, so.
Well, and doesn't it goes back to the strike when the iron's hot. So when the juices are flowing, let them flow. Don't try to hold them back kind of gig on it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, also, when you kind of start sinking away into, just like stagnating, that's when you can get into the wrong headspace and you can really kind of like stare into the void. It's better to have the next mission to go run off to, at least for me and the way I'm wired a lot of the time.
Yeah, so. No, I can 100% agree with you on there. So, yeah. Mr. Steve-O.
Yeah, actually, you talking about it because we hang out so much, I feel like we kind of both know that I struggle, it's to be going is like the best way for me to be. So I'm just happy to be here with both of y'all. So, because I love you guys so much.
Oh yeah, dude. Now, when I've been trying to get this set up for quite a while, and I'm like, when the stars align, we are gonna have a blast here. So, I tell you what, one of y'all take off on instrument, what you play, what's kind of your musical background.
You should totally go first, Steve. You should tell us all about yourself.
Okay. So right now, I primarily just play guitars, electric guitar. For a time, way before then, in my teenage years, I played bass guitar up into my 20s, and then the band I was playing bass in actually lost 2 guitarists, like within a week. So my singer was like, hey, you're a sick player, you should take up guitar. It'll be easy. Famous last words. But here I am, like, I don't even know how long I've been playing guitar for, but yeah, I'm just all about it. It just came out of necessity, and I ended up writing some cool shit, so.
Yeah, accidentally finding a niche.
Yeah, and I think I was like, I had a lot of fun playing bass guitar too, but especially with heavy metal guitar, it's like this whole sub-world, man, aside from like what a traditional guitar player I guess would be, because like people go insane with like technique and just the whole like community around that. It's like just nuts, so I kind of like that about it, and I've just been, I don't know, I've been doing it for number of years now, and now I play 7-string guitars instead of a 6-string guitar, because
you gotta get that drop tone in there.
Yeah, you gotta.
I mean, you can't be a metal musician on a I will argue this, can't be a metal musician on a Telecaster. I'm proven wrong with that. So it's one of those, but no, that's awesome. So what's your little niche in the group here?
Oh, I mean, I'm primarily a bass guitarist. I mean, that's really been my passion for a long time. I grew up in a musical household. Both of my parents were musicians, so those are situations that all of the children were put into at a pretty early age. Everybody was kind of enrolled in piano lessons and unfortunately singing in church and all that stuff growing up. My dad was kind of a Motown guy, and my mother was into classical music. I knew when I was a little guy that I thought guitars were cool, because obviously guitars are the coolest and guitar music is the coolest. Eventually when I got a little older and I was kind of getting into my tween years, I realized that I really wanted to play bass guitar, and I switched over to that, and I still love it just as much as I did when I was in my early teens. It's really more becomes something you need to do for yourself. It's not really about impressing other people or doing other things. I mean, a lot of the best experiences I have are, hitting the bong and playing on the back porch on a Sunday afternoon by myself for a couple of hours. Music is really something that heals people. For me, I've ended up playing in more hard and heavy music projects more because I'm culturally a metal guy. I love all kinds of music, and I'm really grateful I've had opportunities to play in multi-genre settings coming up. I mean, if you're a bass player and you want to play, you gotta be able to play more than one thing if you want gigs. So, I'll go put a cork in it there for now, though.
No, you're good. I was going to say I do have a hot take. Bass is really the unsung heroes in the band world.
Oh, there we go, baby.
Yeah, he paid me $20. I'm not even going to lie to throw that. No, I'm just kidding. But it is one of those. I've played in several smaller groups, smaller bands, and I actually have one of my neighbors who's an incredible bass player.
Oh,
and it's one of those to where you don't realize you need it until it's gone. It's a very background instrument, but it is so helpful with the timing of everything and how everything progresses. And it's almost falls into like the percussion of the drums, to where you need it to put fillers in to be able to bring it back into the next chord shape. And when there is a very, very talented bassist, I really try to make sure that I let them know when I see them play or when I hear them how good of a job they are, because I do truly believe that they are one of the unsung heroes in the band world.
Right on. It really, it bridges that gap between your rhythm and your harmony.
Yes.
Selfishly, as a player, I think it gives you the chance to actually have the most fun on stage or in the ensemble, because you kind of get to experience everything. Selfishly, of course, I think it's the best. That's why I do it all the time. But
a little selfish plug in there.
Oh no, it's just I do it because I love it, and I love it because it's the best, baby.
I got you, man. So, is there a riff or a song that changed your life? Like, that has really kind of been that one that stuck in your head and made you go, oh, I need to dance in this territory when playing music. So,
for me, actually, for bass and guitar, any of Black Sabbath's earlier records. I don't know, just because it's like it puts you on that path. I don't know, but a lot of that stuff's like blues, so it's really kind of hard to pin it to a certain song. Maybe NIB by Black Sabbath.
Okay. Solid banger.
Yeah, man.
Underrated banger.
I actually just watched Maynard sing that on the farewell concert for Ozzy. Yeah. They killed it, man. Tool did a great job with that song. But yeah, as far as like riffs, Paranoid's fucking awesome. It's always going to be awesome. It's never not going to be awesome. I'd say like Black Sabbath stuff, because it's heavy rock and it's just good riffs all the time.
Well, that too, and I it's one of those for me. I think Sabbath and Ozzy really paved a lot of roads for people and a lot of roads for bands, because they went into fairly uncharted territories and made it popular. Like, I know that there was some heavier stuff back in the day, but they were able to get on radio and be able to sell out venues, and to listening to the stories of them, they actually really cared about pushing the next gen up, and they weren't super gatekeepers about it.
Yeah, that's really kind of a segue into that discussion about the origins of heavy metal music, because you'll have people who will try to tell you that like Deep Purple was the first heavy metal band of all time, and obviously Deep Purple is amazing, but Black Sabbath typically is considered the original heavy metal artist, which was they were blues and jazz guys prior to that.
They brought the horror vibes, the scary. Their subject matter for a lot of their songs was scary stuff.
Dark.
War, being controlled, tripping, and like having bad experiences, or like just exploring darker themes than bands would. But that was like their whole thing. I keep tapping this stand.
You're good. Hey, I tell you what we'll do.
And it's really crazy to think about the relevance of all those themes to your point there, Steve-O, because I mean, I was broing out with one of the older guys at my work, right? I'm kind of being mentored by this more senior salesman we have. He's about 70. He's been there, for 40 years or something like that.
He's got the t-shirt.
Yeah. And he told me, he said, man, I got this riff stuck in my head, and he's going on YouTube. I said, Steve, I think his name also is Steve, incidentally. I was like, Steve, I think that's War Pigs by Black Sabbath, man. He's like, really? So next thing you know, we're sitting here just like blasting Sabbath in the office in there. But if you listen to the lyrics of that song, what's really changed on a world level and societal level, if you listen to everything that song is about and where we're at in the world nowadays, it's like timeless. Well,
doesn't it too? The history repeats itself. Like, isn't that just a cliche that everybody's heard? And I'll branch out here. Don't know if y'all listen to much like country classic stuff, but Country Boy Can't Survive by Hank Williams Jr. The preacher man says it's the end of the time and the Mississippi River's going dry. Now, granted, with all the weather that we've had lately, I don't think we got to worry about any rivers going dry nearby. But, it's the same old, you hear it over and over again. And I think with stuff like that out there in music, it makes it really relatable to a lot of generations.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about truth, right? Because, I mean, people can argue about what is or isn't true all day, but what we do know is, I think, the same thing that was true yesterday, 5 years ago, 10, 20, 30 years ago, that keeps coming back around.
That's in the genre. So if we're going back to like the genre of heavy metal, like, it's like, I mean, it's mostly truth, right?
It's about really facing the uncomfortable truths. It's not always pretty. It's not always going to be like, I could like listen to a few Motley Crue songs, but like after a while I'm like, this is just too happy. This is, I have a hard time like connecting with that. Not so much music in general, but like sometimes you just want to like spin some gnarly ass depressive, I mean, like lyrical wise, lyrics.
Well, and it goes back to the relatability of it.
It just feels like home, And I can always listen to heavy rock at least,
And I'm a weird scenario here. Like, I listen to everything. I mean, from classical music, from Mozart, Beethoven, to early blues stuff, to heavy metal, to country, to I believe it or not, have been caught more than one time red-handed singing Pink Pony Club. It's a banger. I'm sorry, but yeah, y'all put that in your car when you ride home, and tell me if you don't at least just.
What's the name of it?
Oh, it's the Pink Pony Club.
Okay.
Right. Now look, they're acting all big and tough now.
I'll give it to spin. No, I listen to a bunch of different stuff too. My parents, they turned me on to the music of their time, so I was really lucky that I think my parents had a really good taste in music. My dad was definitely more the space case. He like through him, I like, he had vinyl records of like Rush, and my mom had like the Doors records and Jimi Hendrix. I mean, like a bunch of like just catalog of rock stuff, Beach Boys. I mean, from even stuff that's a little bit older that their parents listened to, but it was good. I had a good foundation, I feel like, for getting into rock and roll in general, and just good tunes. I'll listen to anything too. I'll never be like, oh, I'm not going to listen to that. Because you never know. It might be your next favorite thing, and that's what also I really enjoy about music too. It's like collecting bands and stuff, like just building your base out.
And I'm a big believer that music should fit a mood. So sometimes you just need something to drown out your head, when you got too much going on, because there's a lot of metal that I do not understand what they're saying, but I'm right there with it. I don't know how to speak pig, but there's a lot of squeals and stuff that I'm down for it. But
it takes time. It takes time to learn how.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to acclimate, right? I'm with you on that. I'm a firm believer that there is a time and a place for everything, and especially, I mean, I loved music for my whole life before I discovered heavy metal anyway. I will say this, when you're talking about like what your moods are and what your situations are, I mean, if I'm feeling pretty nice on a summer day, I might be bumping around to a little indie pop or something like that. But if I'm really not feeling good, there's only one thing that's going to fix it.
And two,
And it's got to be more extreme.
Yeah.
So.
And let's just say it too. Some nice breeze blowing outside, sun shining on you. That yacht rock hits different, buddy.
The yacht rock. What would you define as yacht rock?
Yeah.
Like, give me an example.
Alrighty.
Name some bands.
No. The Looking Glass. Brandy.
Okay.
All the people say Brandy. Yeah, that real laid back, chill vibe.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You're just out on a boat having a good time. Like, there's nothing. It's just feel good music.
When are we going to go have fun on the boat, y'all?
Yesterday. We should have done.
I got a kayak. I don't know how all three of us are getting on the kayak, but
Well, about a year ago, I was really looking at buying a kayak and looking at racks for my vehicle and all that. I was trying to spend more time with a woman who liked a kayak at the time.
the
I think
downfall of most men's.
yeah.
She got you looking at
Watch out for them
kayaks.
whamming in kayaks.
I mean, kayak sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, but I'm actually going back to thinking about it because last week, for 4th of July weekend, I was hanging out with one buddy of mine, and we were out by the river, and we took the canoe out for a pretty good little trip. And I was like, man, I really should go back to thinking about getting something to get out on the water more.
Well, and two, it's you can usually find in the off season with kayaks, like October, November, like not a lot of people are out there floating rivers and stuff like that. You can usually pick them up pretty cheap because a lot of people don't want to store them. It's easy when I say cheap, but you're not going to spend $1,500 on one. You can pick them up for a couple hundred for a really good brand. And that's actually what I did. A guy got tired of looking at it in his basement, and I was like, hey, anybody selling a kayak? He's like, yeah, me, $50 now. And I was like, bring it to work tomorrow. We'll make this happen.
Sick.
Yeah. So both of y'all have played in multiple bands throughout your life. Is there any weird, funny, oddball gig stories that y'all have?
What do we have time for? I don't know where to start.
I feel like that's all it's made up of. It's just like the performance stuff is like just the most normal thing about it.
What category of weird gig? We thinking like weird people, weird locations,
Just
injuries?
Just that one. That one that kind of like when the question got brought up, I know that there was something that was kind of up there on the chain. It doesn't have to be too wild, but I was actually there. I watched the guy blow his knee out on stage.
Oh yeah, you were there.
I was. That was my first metal show.
Perfect.
It was, and ended up having to help carry him out.
That was so tragic, dude. That you bring that up. That was actually probably towards the top of the list as far as craziest shit happening at a show. Yeah, man. Dude, it's so crazy that he went on with the show after that.
That was the craziest thing. He said, "Give me a chair."
Yeah.
He said, "I have done something to my knee. It's not good."
Yeah.
And give me a chair because y'all paid to hear music, and we're going to finish the set out.
They fucking brought out a bag of peas and like duct tape to do his kneecap, and he fucking went on, and then he went on after that. He had to have surgery, and he also had to have months and months of PT. So like that's probably one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed. I've seen people like maybe get hurt in the pit or something, or like some crazy shit happens that way, but being on stage with your band member, like having that go down was like, yeah, we were all kind of shocked, and it was freezing out. I mean, it was weird. It was on the back patio in fucking March.
Yeah, it was a tent show in March,
and it wasn't a warm March day. It was a windy day, and it was in Charlottesville, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in Charlottesville.
And it was like they had these little space heaters on the pad, like on the concrete, and like everyone was just huddled underneath them. It was just like a normal gig, normal gig stuff, right? Yeah, and then Will took a tumble. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the stage. I'd have to ask him, but I don't know if the stage was what was causing it, or he also wore boots. So maybe it was a combination of the both, and like he just twisted his shit up real bad.
And he also was laying on his back because I picked the absolute worst time to go grab a beer Because when I walked out, he was laying on his back playing, and I was like, okay, that's a weird flex, but I'm down for it.
Yeah, that's what you. So at first, he like went down. And I was like, oh, dude, he's doing some sexy Prince shit where he's like playing bass guitar. He's like, dude, he's getting down dirty. And like, once we saw like the anguish in his face, we were like, oh, no, like something's wrong here, you know? That was crazy. And you know what was also, by chance, I think, oh, no, he must have left. But one of our buddies, his brother is in school to be, is a doctor currently, or at that time, I don't know, he had medical training. So I mean, I don't know. There was enough people there to like help Will along. So like, pretty thankful for that, man. Because imagine if it was like not like that. That would have been.
Well, and I think that also speaks to the big scary community of metalheads. Because you know, we were actually talking about this before we started recording. You know, you wear black, and a lot of people put on face paint and do this and that. They are genuinely some of the nicest people I've ever met. At that show, I actually had a guy come and tap me on the shoulder. I just was scanning the room, looking around, typical dude stuff, and I looked over and I kind of made eye contact with the dude who was kind of at my quarter, and he just casually walked up, tapped me on the shoulder, and I was like, yeah, what's up, man? He was like, I'm sorry, I stood in your blind spot. He's like, I will move. And I was like, you don't have to. I was just looking. He's like, no, that's my bad. And then he literally walked away from it.
Polite king.
Dude, yeah, people jumping over picnic tables to make sure they threw their cans away in the trash can.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I mean, we might have like guts literally like on a graphic on our t-shirts spilled and entrails and like people hung upside down and butchered. But hey, man, if your car breaks down, we probably got a set of cables for, you know, like we probably help you out, man.
Yeah, we can definitely help you push it to the nearest station. We'll go get you a can of gas real quick and help you out.
We know how, being in a band, you know how it is to be like have car trouble or van trouble, and then you're just stranded. So yeah, it sucks. You literally, I don't know, I think it puts you in so many situations where things are out of your control that sometimes you're so thankful for any outside help, whether it be like just someone at the venue who's like running things that is really nice and polite, you know. I don't know, there's a whole sub thing there where it's like just don't be a dick and treat people how you want to be treated.
Exactly.
But
it's crazy when you're good people, you tend to surround yourself with good people. It's weird.
Yeah.
So have you done Cypher Throne there, Aaron, with any weird gig stories?
Oh, I mean, I've really just kind of been taking it all in and listening, man. I mean, weird gigs, I don't know. I've gotten hurt on stage a couple of times when I was younger, because when I was in my early 20s, I was playing in a group where we would kind of really go out of our way to be more physical than we probably needed to. I don't know. I started just going through a whole like list of memories and thinking about getting hurt and stuff getting destroyed, and also considering that what would happen with us would be tame, considering what would happen with other bands we would play with. Kind of spent a chunk of my early 20s being more in the hardcore scene and learning more about it. There was really no hardcore scene where I grew up in North Carolina. It was still like very like thrash, metalcore was getting huge at the time, lots of old school. I mean,
that dude, I love metal. I'm a big Metallica fan. That vibe.
Well, I mean, it's more like, I don't know, kind of like a small country town where I grew up, or almost like a little behind the times in some ways too. So I was still like a full-blown nu metal kid in like 2008 or whatever, because that was still like just what was big where I grew up. I came to Virginia and there was a big hardcore scene here. I'd never seen anything like it, but I wanted to play, and I found people to get involved with, and kind of watched myself become a product of the environment by the time the next decade went by. Speaking of that too, actually thinking about a show memory, are y'all familiar with a hardcore band called The Chariot?
Yeah.
It's not together anymore.
It's an offshoot of Norma Jean.
A lot of, yeah, I mean, they were, kind of side by side a lot during that same era. And they did their farewell tour back in fall of 2013. And the band I was playing at the time got to perform on the farewell tour when they came through this area. And it was kind of a wild time. It was right around when our buddy Kenny had like been leaving town, and we had been up all night on the farm, just like having a massive party in like a woodshed, out in the middle of nowhere.
The good old bonfire parties.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next day we were going to play. We were really excited. There was a ton of kids there, and it was really getting wild and rowdy. This group was a 5-piece, and had a lot of guitar solos, a lot of leads. Our lead guitarist was in jail at the time, so we kind of had decided how we were going to still play the show and change all of our songs on the fly for that. Singer had broken up with their fiance. I was living in a relationship that was really causing my life a lot of problems.
So,
everybody was really unhappy. It was a giant mess. So
was this a metal or a heavy rock band, or was this a country music band? Because that dude, there could be a solid country song with your
both.
both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this was
both.
this was like kind of like a Southcore band. So it was like kind of take like your like your 80s blues metal and then mix it with like modern hardcore type stuff and
so
beat
good.
down.
So good.
I think the only thing you were missing is if somebody's dog ran off, and I think y'all would have just had it nailed right there for a solid country song.
Have you not heard of the Handsome Bandits? Before now,
No.
I'll get you some stuff, man. No, yeah, like the whole country, the vibe, the aesthetic. They like literally one of their stickers, which I love so much because it was written in the Red Dead Redemption font and logo.
Yes.
Dude, it was a whole vibe.
It was like a Western themed hardcore band.
So
yeah,
the Handsome Bandits was the name of the band.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, that's sick. It's great.
Dude, you like groovy, fucking heavy shit. Handsome Bandits were that. I mean, like, I remember like watching y'all and being like, "This is the best band in town. This is the most dangerous band in town." And
it was definitely pretty physically dangerous for me on a few occasions. That's for sure. But
I mean, Robbie was doing backflips, or not backflips. But I don't know if I ever saw he did like kicks off walls and stuff. Robbie went nuts back in the day.
Oh yeah, well I had the this tattoo I have on my scalp and up here is on top of a scar I have from Robbie's guitar going inside my face and coming back out of it.
Yeah, y'all were
were
definitely that type of band where it's like it was like you never knew it was going to happen. And that's what's so much fun about watching y'all, because it was just always, the music was always great, but then the performance was like always fucking top.
Yeah, you should have seen my neck x-ray, dude.
Oh man. Was it like thrashed up, like just
no forward curve and noticeable like slant over curve on the front? Like I started getting headaches and stuff eventually because I had just totally messed my neck up through the course of my 20s, basically. Yeah.
Well, if knowledge was wasted on the youth, we would have no old wise men.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes back to, kind of being reflective and also like the things that stand true over time. I spent some time, I kind of retired for a couple of years when I got in my late 20s. I was dealing with some personal things I wanted to work through, and I devoted all of my time and all of my extra money and just really thrown myself into playing, in different bands and projects from when I was 18 until I was about 28, 29. And I decided to move kind of back closer to my family for a while to figure some things out, and semi-retired, and that's when the toll of everything I'd been doing for all those years kind of came in. And I did also, did some therapy. I really got into doing yoga and mobility and all that stuff, and got a bunch of things realigned and got back into taking care of myself. But you're tempted to regret different decisions you make and what you spend your time on. But what I always really try to focus on when I have that temptation is, if I took a different path, I would be somebody else now. Right. And I don't want to be somebody else. I want to be me. And, that's something, we all have to accept and embrace, I think, too, because you can't be looking backward all the time, man. It's like all depression is from looking back, and anxiety is from looking forward. You need to stay right now, something like that.
What is the iPhone slogan? Perfect timing on that, by the way.
Hello, Moto. Sorry about that. I thought I had silenced it.
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties here. No, it's all good. But what's the iPhone slogan of, there's no back button, we're always moving forward?
That's real. That's a thing.
Yeah, that they don't have. I'm Android, and it's going to take me a while to get on the Apple kick, and I've had a lot of people push me towards it, and I'm just like, nope, down on this hill. This is the one I'm going to stand my ground on here.
Oh, you're talking about how Apple's always progressing and updating thing. Holy God, it's annoying, bro. Like I kind of like live under a rock. I have this big part of me that still is a little caveman style. I mean, like, the only technology you'll find in my house is my smartphone, a laptop that stays turned off and in a desk drawer, and then I got like a Roku TV, man. Like, that's it, you know. So
I recently switched to a Android phone. I actually had, so I don't know, man. I live on that. I'll set it up with this. I live on that silent life. Not then when the phone went off, but generally, you know, being on your phone all the time. It's one of those things that I've taken note of over the years. That, like, man. I mean, and phones actually give you like weekly reports and shit. You know, your screen time. It's crazy that the products that we like spend so much time looking at like are now like, hey, you've been looking at this screen 6 hours this week. You know,
that's 6 hours this week. I mean, a day.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially if you got TikTok or YouTube or something or whatever you're using, but.
And actually, this is a great line into kind of why I wanted to start doing this. Is, you know, I'm a big believer that the conversation is a dying art, and in a like, kind of a weird way of saying it.
No, you're right on, dude.
Yeah, it's, you know, everybody lives in the text message email world, and it's fine. It's cool, but to me,
it's convenient.
Very,
you know?
And for me, it is really fun to sit here with both of y'all, and we can talk about a couple topics, and we can run some stuff down, and we can laugh, we can joke. We're enjoying some good whiskey and bourbon right now, and we're talking. That's all it is. It's just us in the moment. It's a little timestamp in history for us. And on that note, y'all think it's about time for a break?
Yeah, we can take 5.
Sure.
Take a break at this moment from our sponsors: Motorola, Samsung.
You know, so I'm like,
all right. So after our brief intermission there, realize that we have never actually put the band name out here. So who wants to take off running and explain what the band and kind of gig is here?
Okay. So,
I love how it started.
All right. So at this point, we're prepping to be able to, you know, be performing live before the year's over. It's been a little bit of a journey to get to where we're at right now. We're in the process of getting the first couple of songs produced, and just started working with a new drummer so we can go do things live. We've worked with a few other people over the last year or so. It's kind of been a little bit of, it's been in the oven for a little while, I guess is probably a good way to put it. Right now, I think we're going to be called Corruptor at this point. That was a name that was in existence for a little while. This originated with myself and Steve-O just hanging out. We kind of made this deal with each other because of all the guys we know over the years. We both really like extreme metal, among the many other things we enjoy, like we talked about earlier, you know. And we just were like, dude, let's start hanging out on Wednesday nights and just writing death metal riffs and try and get better at playing that kind of stuff. I've played extreme metal before. Obviously, Steve and I were in Brain Cell together for about a year. In late 2017 throughout 2018, we did play in one band together back then. Our friendship kind of blossomed afterwards while I was living in a different state, and then I eventually moved back to Virginia, and then we kind of made a deal together, said let's hang out and start riffing together, and it's kind of like going to the gym but on guitar, basically.
No, too, I'm a big believer in you can expand your horizons by playing with better players.
Of course, dude, when I was younger, there's bands I wanted to quit, but I would stay because the drummer kicked ass or something like that.
Yes, sir.
And I was like, I want to keep playing with this guy because he's making me better, so I'll stick around, you know.
So is there any origin or lore or anything behind behind Corruptor? And I'm going to throw this out there. Can we please have a logo that we can read? Or at least make it noticeable enough to where we know that is the Corruptor logo.
Oh yeah, that was part of the mission statement for the logo.
Yeah, I mean the logo's already being worked on like as we speak, is it not?
Yeah, it's just about ready to be. Everything's gonna come oozing out at you. in a variety of ways.
Oozing out. That reminds me of an uncomfortable conversation I had at work a couple of days ago.
So, with different band names and just trying to get all this stuff together, it's been a trial and error. I mean, I was telling you earlier, like, we're on our 4th drummer. And, like, it's just a wild ride, man, We don't have a second guitarist, so it's just me and it's Aaron and I. And the new drummer, and then Kenny, doing vocals. So I mean, it's kind of nice to keep it nice and tight, and also, like, because Aaron and I have been working so long on this, it's like maybe it's just easier to have a smaller band and just try to bang out a bunch of tunes.
That's the keep it simple, stupid. That whole Kiss mentality.
I feel like the more emphasis I've put on, or like, I mean, it's been a journey, so it'll be nice to like really present it to everyone and myself to like that we still we're still fucking heavy metal guys, so it's real nice.
Yeah, as far as like being like a 4-piece, I really personally, I mean, I've been in bands with up to 6 people in them on the side. When I was in my 20s, I would usually play in like a band, and then I would also do like hot shot gigs on the side and shit like that. So I played in like some orchestra pit situations with like 17, 25 people and all that. But really, as far as like being artistic and being creative, I'm personally really influenced by 4-piece bands. I've been going through a big Rage Against the Machine revival recently, which was a big influence. We were talking earlier about like those great riffs that influence you when you're younger, and I think the opening riff from Down Rodeo from Empire of the Sun is still one of my favorite riffs of all time, dude. And like Guerrilla Radio was one of the first songs I learned how to play when I did start playing bass when I was a kid. And in the past, in other bands I've gotten to be in, a lot of 5-pieces with lead and rhythm guitarists and those kinds of situations, keyboard players, guys like shredding on guitars and prog stuff in college. But it's like we were talking about the other night, for a little background, talk about that rhythmic element you get more with 4-piece bands where it really locks in. It's fun, man, and I'm at the point in my life where I like having less cooks in the kitchen too. So.
Well, and two, it's really hard to find people. It's hard to find 2 people that can agree on one subject, but let alone having 4, 6, 7. Like we were talking about Ghost and Gore and Slipknot earlier. I mean, how many people do they have in the band? And the answer is all of them. Yeah, I mean that's
every last one.
Yeah, and it's crazy that they can have an agreement upon all of them that this is the direction it needs to go. So sometimes scaling back, and if you have 4 talented people, you should be able to cover just as much as 7 mediocre people.
Yeah, there's. So with Air, it's funny you bring that up. So with like Ghost, it's like it's all Tobias Forge pretty much, right? He writes everything, or like mostly in part. I'm not sure what they're currently doing in Ghost, but I'm pretty sure it's like the same. Like, hey, this is a fucking awesome gig, and I want you on, and you got to wear a mask for the whole set, right? But it's Ghost, so it's like really crazy. But I'm pretty sure Tobias like writes everything. So I feel like, whoever's writing the most is probably got the better picture of, like, where like, what kind of vibe it is, I guess. But you also got to be open to collaborate, but that could be a tricky path, too, man.
Well, and it's all about agreeing on the direction of the compass.
Yeah.
So, you don't need to head exactly true north, but everybody needs to pull, I'm putting my arm out because we don't have any video yet, that way. It doesn't matter if it is a perfect line due north, but we need to head in a certain direction and make sure that
everybody's got to play. Like if everybody's into it and turned on by it, I feel like that's a good sign. And that's why we're on our 4th drummer.
Well, and two,
not to be that guy, but
and I mean you are in a, and I don't mean this in a bad way. You're in a niche area of a drummer. It's not
correct.
It's not a guy who can sit here and stay in the pocket and keep time. They are very, very talented, and you have to find that piece to the puzzle that makes it click.
That's one thing about when we kind of sat together and made the decision that we were like, dude, like we love extreme music. We want to play extreme music. You know, it's like not everybody that likes to ride does motocross shit, you know, bro.
Agreed.
Like it's that kind of stuff. And I don't get on two wheels at all. You know, I've got buddies that are still trying to convince me to go there, maybe someday. But that's already, you know, that's your entry point already. If you're going to say we want to do this kind of music and be creative in this kind of fashion, you know, where everything is going to be extreme. And for drums, drumming is an incredibly physical instrument.
Just when it's not playing death metal.
You need like a specific, it's like you need to find a specific kind of athlete. And then I've always said in my life, the worst thing about being a musician is dealing with other musicians. No offense to anybody, but I mean, yeah.
But good,
I mean, like,
it's a good one.
You know, we're all a little bit crazy. You know, just kind of depend on like, you know, which members of the Monster Squad are going to get along and which aren't. You know, so that's once you kind of get into that realm of people who want to do more extreme stuff. If you and are willing to put the time in to do it, it does get a little more challenging.
Yeah.
So.
I think you led onto something that just sent a light bulb off in my head. You said athlete.
Oh, for being an extreme metal drummer? Absolutely.
But not just that, but I mean, I would almost say an athlete of being an extreme metal guitarist, an extreme metal bassist, an extreme metal vocalist. Now, granted, we're not talking NFL combine 40-yard dash and bench press here, but...
Not yet. Not yet.
But it's also one of those, too. The other thing that leads into athletic is competitiveness. You really need to almost be one-upping each other in a good competitive environment to be able to make sure that everybody is at their level.
You got to have that dog in you a little bit. Yeah. You don't want to keep up. You got to want it.
Growth.
You know?
For growth alone.
At least a beagle. I mean, something a little bit bigger than a chihuahua. I don't think we need to get into Rottweiler territory, but...
So it should be interesting to see, like, when we're gigging with other bands that are like that style. Like, it's either going to be everyone's going to be jacked. It's like there's themes. There's like running what do they call them? Tropes.
You're right. I've kind of noticed that too. I think it's also because we look at the bands we played in when we were younger men, and now we're all kind of getting into our mid to late 30s, and usually your extreme metal scenes are often occupied by a lot of like guys who are starting to get a little older, guys in their 30s and guys in their 40s a lot. And I don't know why that is. Maybe that is a trope. Maybe it's a culture thing.
I don't know.
I mean, when I first played, like, Victor the Loser was my first experience really playing death metal and extreme metal. It's where I learned how. I was 24 at the time. I've been playing in a couple of other bands, and I got approached by these guys playing in like this like progressive grindcore band. It was like super technical. They had 3 guitarists and a drummer, no vocalist. It was all instrumental and really wild. Wow. And they approached me and asked me if I would like to come play with them because they would like to have a bass player. I was 24 at the time. Like I said, all of these guys were like in their 30s already, and some members kind of fell away. And I don't talk to the guitarist I play with as much anymore. I saw him recently, which was nice, but it was kind of like that my time, you know, I've been playing other rock and hardcore type bands and metallic projects for years. But it was kind of like in Star Wars when Luke has to go to Dagobah and study from Master Yoda, because this guy really was like in his early 30s, and I was a 24-year-old kid, like driving around with a bottle of whiskey in my trunk all the time, just like getting blasted and playing rock and roll.
Hell yeah, and, brother.
This guy, I went to his house for the first time. He was sitting on the floor, smoking a blunt, building a dirt bike, and playing Suffocation so loud you couldn't even think. And he was like, come on, man, I'm going to teach you how to play something you can't play. And he spent like a year and a half basically mentoring me in how to play extreme metal and death metal type stuff and all the technique that goes into it. And I really, it was really kind of put me in a new direction, you know, which you need from training under a sensei, bro. So.
And shout out, like, I feel like the world that we all live in here, too, is gate kept way too much. Like, I'm like, regardless of what it is, like, somebody found the secret sauce and it's that Sweet Baby Ray's, they're not giving up that recipe. It's the KFC, those secret blend of herbs and spices are going to stay a secret blend of herbs and spices. And the more I find myself in the music territory, it's like, oh, hey, check out this riff I learned. And then it'll be, oh, how do you play that? Oh, hey, and I'm the type of guy to be like, oh, dude, here it is. Like, I'll show you straight up. Or any sort of, like, era of that is I really enjoy the lack thereof of from musician to musician of mostly gatekeeping.
Real art is not about gatekeeping. No, real art is never about gatekeeping. It's about self-expression, and it's about, if I have something I really value. I grew up in a very religious environment, right? And which of course I rebelliously ran away from and ended up in our segment of society in a lot of ways. But there was something they used to try and teach kids about, like evangelizing and sharing, the faith and stuff. And there was one concept that actually is very true, which is if you have something you really value that is good, why would you not give it to somebody else?
Yes.
It's like inviting your buddy to come hit the bowl. You know what I mean?
Invite your buddy.
Exactly.
Invite your buddy to try the whiskey you just bought.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, man, this is great, and you should get in on this. And that's really what it's about. Anything else is going to turn to insecurities and like power plays and all that other bullshit and political stuff people invent.
Cheapens the overall experience for everyone.
Just
a lot
dilutes
many
it.
Involved.
Yeah. All right, so I know y'all are big conspiracy. Well, I won't say big. I know y'all do dabble in the conspiracy theory realm. So I wanted to do a little bit of crossplay here.
All right. Cool.
So I want you to imagine that Bigfoot shows up to one of your gigs in the Pacific Northwest, right? Y'all been touring for a while. The set is smoking. You can play with your eyes shut. It's about putting on a performance, right? Is he showing up for the riffs, or is he showing up for the beer? So y'all tell me what Bigfoot's showing up for.
Steve already knows about what I think about Bigfoot, so I'm going to let Steve-O go first.
If he was so if Bigfoot was just rolling up,
yeah, like
what's he doing first?
You're in the Pacific Northwest, right? Mm-hmm. You're playing a gig. Bigfoot shows up in the crowd. Is he there for the beer, or is he there for the riffs?
Oh, he's there for the riffs and the chicks, man. For sure.
The riffs and the chicks.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
All right, so let's hear this one now, Aaron. I'm excited.
So I'm saying Bigfoot is indeed there for the riffs. That's because it's not the beer. Bigfoot has bigger things going on than the beer. Yeah, the beer.
It's probably just low calorie. Anyway.
How should we go about this? Bigfoot is a big thing for me as far as like top conspiracy theories. People will be like, "What's your big conspiracy theory you're on right now?" And I'll say Bigfoot, and they're like, "Oh yeah, some Bigfoot's real, some grainy footage." I'm like, "No." Okay, so I spent a few years where I delved deep into an Australian-based paranormal podcast. I'll give them a shout-out right now. It's called Believe, hosted by Cade Moyer. If anybody who's a fan of that is listening to this someday.
You mean from the tens of listeners that we have?
Believe with Cade Moyer. That's right, yeah, the tens of listeners.
The tens of listeners.
Anyone who's out there, you need to check it out.
Tens
and,
of listeners.
I sent you. So it's Australian-based podcast, and then we know Bigfoot's actually appears not just in the Pacific Northwest, down in North Carolina where I grew up, we call them Old Knobby.
Oh, Appalachia.
I spent most of my life in Appalachia, man. The old mountains of Appalachia, all that Lovecraft shit. But so, man, how do I even get back on track with this with Bigfoot? Okay, so Australian Bigfoot, they call them yowies. And that's the most Australian thing I've ever heard in my life. I'd be tuning in the podcast, guys like, I got your email about a yowie encounter. I was like, man, Mike, gotta have you on the show, Mike.
Wait, hang on. Dude, I gotta throw a flag on the play. That is the smoothest Australian accent I've heard in a long time.
That's because I've spent hours listening to paranormal Australian podcasts. So there were some discussions I became aware of then of documented and even published Yowie encounters from like the early, like turn of the century type stuff, like 1920s, where Australians claimed to have encountered Yowies, Australian Bigfoot, and said they spoke Latin to them.
Bless
out
you.
in the yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, but they talked about these Yowies speaking Latin out in the bush. Fast forward in time, there's a pretty heavily researched piece of audio that I believe was captured in the 70s of what was believed to be two Bigfoot out in the Pacific Northwest actually calling out to each other across a vast expanse. Later on in the 90s,
Bless you one more
Once
time.
again, I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on here. Sorry, I think I might be allergic to Bigfoot or something.
He's allergic to the
That
bullshit.
dander.
He's like, move on with it, or wrap it up. Getting long-winded with the Bigfoot. Okay, long story short, Bigfoot in Australia are speaking Latin, right? In the 90s, they analyzed this audio from the U.S. where a linguist swore up and down these Bigfoot were actually using an ancient form of Mandarin. So what we have is one side, we have lots of documentation of Bigfoot-type creatures speaking in ancient languages. And then we have this other conspiracy theory based around Bigfoot is that we never find any corpses. We never find any dwellings. No real lasting physical
Tangible
evidence.
proof.
So there's a really prevalent theory that Bigfoot are actually what they call earth suits for angels. They are these bio bodies that interdimensional beings use to walk on the earth, which is why they're also very physically similar to ancient humans and Neanderthals and creatures like that.
And let's just throw this word in there too, Gigantopithecus, just so we can get on the Joe Rogan algorithm. That's the only reason I put that word out there for it. So,
Okay. So anyway, long story short, I spent a time where I like stumbled in a few different resources of like instances of Bigfoot speaking ancient languages, and also the idea that they are actually earth suits for interdimensional beings to come and walk on this plane of existence and then leave. So there's a prevalent theory that Bigfoot in the old earth scenario actually were interdimensional beings that would come and have interactions with early humans and speak all of these ancient languages as a result, and are actually essentially like, you know, it's like that's their ghillie suit for coming down and walking on the earth or something like that. So if I see a Bigfoot show up at a gig, I'm like, oh, there's some big shit going down, man. And like these beings are coming to come visit, yeah.
The last gig or something.
And it's because of the riffs.
It's because of the riffs.
It's the riffs.
Is it happening because, is it over the riffs? Is it because all this is happening because of the riffs?
Maybe the riffs are summoning them, man.
I mean, it's
more
possible.
Bigfoot start showing up.
Do you think we could like mathematically figure out the equation?
Well, it's not that far off from people thinking Chupacabra is actually like an alien like pet that was actually from another planet and got left on Earth, you know?
I have this idea here to where the Bigfoot show up because of the rifts, and then all of a sudden we have a problem with Bigfoot showing up. We're like, hey guys, hey, I'm not trying to be weird here, but I'm trying to run security for your gig. we have now had 37 Bigfoots have entered the chat.
Yeah.
We gotta calm down.
If they all start showing up, I mean,
are they tipping?
Dude, we got
bartenders.
Yeah, we got $37. Y'all got the guitar case opened up, and it's like we got $37 and 4 acorns from Bigfoot out here.
The best we can hope for is that someone buys a shirt or one of those like booty shorts with the name on the back.
Corruptor sponsored by Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We should call a Bigfoot, see what he's doing.
First of all, there is something I would like to touch here. Anytime I have ever seen anybody call Bigfoot, they use mating calls.
Is that a thing? Mating calls?
First of all, like if you watch like the TV documentaries and stuff like that, they're like, look, I'm going to call a Bigfoot.
Okay.
This is a mating call for Bigfoot. I really feel like I would use the hey bro, what's up call before I ever use.
Canada
Seems
rings
a little
that
risky.
That's what I'm saying is I don't want to, like, I've watched enough scary movies to know that tree roots come out and grab your feet and you
Maybe
fall.
it's a little condescending too. Like, do we want to assume that Bigfoot is just like horny all the time, or sitting there like I want someone to reach out to my feelings and my intellect?
What if Bigfoot is like asexual? I mean, if it's basically what'd you say, a ghillie suit? Is that what
That's probably not even a really good term for that, honestly.
Just like a Bigfoot suit for the celestial,
the avatar status.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, do they even have a sexual desire to mate? Or do they just?
There are stories about that too.
First of all,
okay, little cross platform.
You gotta wonder if that's humanity though, because we project a lot of stuff onto the aliens and everything, but I'm starting to wonder if those human beings are just so horny that they're projecting it on everything else all the time, because that's really like, dude, when I took Western Civ in community college, I remember my teacher sitting down and looking at the whole class and being like, there's one reason humans survived everything.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
We love to fuck, man. I mean,
so all right, to get off of the Bigfoot here, I hope y'all enjoy the pun there. If time travel was real, who is somebody, back in the day that you would want to go to learn something from or to talk to as musician-wise? Would it be Lemmy? Would it be Dimebag? Would it be people like that? Like somebody you could go travel back in time, have a conversation with, potentially pick something up from any era of their life. Who would it be?
Like specifically a musician?
Yeah, like in the music world.
Damn. There's a lot of people I love that are still around kicking,
kind of
but
an easy.
Well, not just that, but you could go see them at their younger selves.
True. Okay.
I don't have a lot of time to think about it, but I'm also thinking like fantasies of who is accessible and still alive versus who isn't. I'd probably go straight to Cliff Burton, man.
Ooh. Solid.
If we could both be in our mid-20s at the time too, and spend time together and talk and learn and stuff like that, like I'd be like, brother.
Mine would probably, you mentioned Dimebag earlier, because one thing I feel like as a guitarist, even though I have recorded music with guitar solos on, guitar solos are still like this mystical. There's that barrier, right? I could fake it, air quotes, but definitely Dimebag, probably around after Cowboys, but before like everything got fucking crazy and everybody quit the band because of drugs and chaos.
You talking around like Reinventing the Steel or some shit?
Yeah, like
that's
when they got like heavier, they got heavier on every record.
Yeah,
and like the solos were always great. I don't know. I just feel like there's just so much.
They got heavier because Phil couldn't sing anymore. There was only one way to go.
Like he straight up, I mean, Phil's he's doing the Pantera thing now, but he also released a black metal record this year, Phil Ansama from Pantera,
which is better than half of his other shit. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, he's always busy. He's always been busy. But anyway, probably Dimebag back in like the late '90s ish, before shit turned bad for him, and he started a new band, or Randy Rhoads, just because his life got cut so short, so young, but he was like still amazing. Like he was in his early 20s when he fucking passed away.
And talk about a super clutch move by finding somebody like Zakk Wylde, who was such a Randy Rhoads fan.
Oh yeah,
and modeled everything he could after him to fill that gap. Dude, I mean, talk about chess over checkers.
I saw that in Atlanta like a month or so ago. Yeah, because Zakk Wylde's playing guitar for the current Pantera tour.
Right,
you know, dude, when I was in my early 20s, I was obsessed with Pantera. Wanted to look like Rex Brown, like long hair and trucker cap and all that. And yeah,
it's iconic, man.
That's also something we haven't really touched on, Rain, or really talked about with you either. Is that one thing Steve-O and I have really connected on over the years? We both really have like roots in thrash. For sure, we just really connect with that thrash, kind of music too. Like we're both big Slayer guys.
So. I mean, any of the thrash, a lot of thrash was super popular to a point where like there were a couple, instead of just one band, which is obviously Metallica, right, being the household name.
Yeah.
You said I had to wait 10 minutes to curse in the podcast, so I'm gonna curse now. Metallica. I would never curse them. They blessed us with so many good things to work with and just listen to and enjoy. A lot of people throw shade at them. I'm not part of that group. But not to mention any of the other thrash bands that were at that time. Fucking Exodus, Testament, Creator. I enjoy Megadeth. A lot of people, feel different. I mean, it was a really big wave, man, for heavy music. So from that, there's like some revivals over the years, but like thrash kind of takes a turn, and the 90s is when like death metal kind of like starts to peak its head up, which is like,
so what
it's like the same, it's like born from thrash, you know, to me at least, the way I see it, it's like kind of born from thrash, and so they kind of play hand in hand. So, you know,
all right, so let's for maybe some non-metal listeners, if you put Metallica very mainstream, very upfront, if you don't know who Metallica is, get under the rock kind of deal, like you're just you're living in no man's land. Who would you put as the next? Would you say it was death metal after thrash?
Oh, so like a big death, Cannibal Corpse, man.
Okay,
Yeah,
Cannibal Corpse,
absolutely. Yeah,
Cannibal Corpse is like, there's no question about it. Like, they'll always be the guys that like. I mean, Death Clock is Cannibal Corpse, basically, right? Like,
without Alex Webster.
yeah, without Alex Webster. You know, they're just. That would be, yeah.
And I believe we
Still
were
going.
Forgive me for not knowing the front man. Somebody throw it out there.
George Fisher.
George Fisher. Yeah, Mr. Corpse Grinder, yeah. Who also enjoys playing claw machines and donating to charity, and is probably...
He's a family man, too.
Well, and not just that, but I feel like you could walk up to him and say, dude, I'm having a bad day. Can I get a hug? And you're getting a hug 11 times out of 10.
George is pretty broadly known for being one of the more wholesome figures in the death metal and metal community. But frankly, Tom Araya from Slayer is that way too, man. I mean, he's basically like your suburban Cuban dad. He just happens to be the front man and bassist for Slayer, you know?
It goes back to that thing, like, just don't be a dick, you know? And, like, we've probably met, like, a lot of... I mean,
and if you think I'm a dick, maybe just fuck you.
Yeah, a little bit of that too. That plays out with the whole heavy metal, you know, attitude, right? You know, but no, those guys are real approachable, and it's like so crazy because like the music, literally is like the stuff that when you play it for people that don't listen to heavy metal, they're like, I'm not gonna, like, this is awful. Why would you ever?
Oh, growing up, I had like friends in high school who would specifically say, "Hey, I never want you to play something like that in my house again." Like, whoa, bro.
Yeah, my parents could listen to like the rock stuff, but if I had downloaded like Morbid Angel or Cannibal Corpse on like off of the internet, because you know I don't want to date myself here, but you know,
now we can talk about
LimeWire, bro. We talking about LimeWire right now, bro?
Yeah. How many computers did all of us crash?
So many. But yeah, like my parents were just like, this is awful, and I love the script. I mean, you know, even back then I didn't really get into like how I am now into it. I had a short list of bands that were in that genre. I just never explored it more. I explored other stuff musically, but like it's, you know, it's you were saying earlier about it's like guys in their 30s or like mid to late 30s, right? And it's, I don't know, I just think it's a thing. It's like that last hill you gotta fucking cross. You almost, like,
I think,
for me,
I'm starting to think it might be,
me.
like, from when I would play shows when I was coming up and everything, I'm starting to think your 30s, you play death metal, but by the time we're in our 40s, it'll be time to be in a throwback thrash band.
Yeah.
You know, because there's always those guys, too, you know, you've always got a group of guys who are all in their, like, mid-40s, and, like, they're all...
alive.
Yeah, dude, they're all, like, playing Flying V's and everything, you know.
So, let's talk about somebody who, what's a good term here? Let's talk about gateway drugs in metal. Okay, so like let's say you have somebody who knows classic rock, like Aerosmith, Heart, that kind of territory, Zeppelin. Okay, so if you're going to gateway drug them into the next step, which would I guess it would be like more the Sabbath kind of stuff. You would probably offer up Sabbath to them, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Hey, let's if you like that, maybe you'll like this. Mm-hmm. So if you're going from Sabbath to to thrash metal, you'd probably throw out Metallica, right? Or something along Megadeth, something in that era. So let's say you're going from...
Still get them with something a little more melodic first, kind of like soften them up a little bit, yeah.
Right, but I mean, it's really hard to find, especially with the exposure that Metallica has had lately. It would be really hard to find somebody who doesn't know who Metallica is. Yeah. So let's start at Metallica. What's the gateway drug into death metal?
Lamb of God.
Very foul, very fair point.
I've said for a really long time, if someone was like, what does American heavy metal music quintessentially sound like? I would probably say Lamb of God. People would probably like to categorize them in the groove metal genre, maybe. I don't know, but it's still so blues based. It's still so thrashy.
But you would say that would be I would 100% agree with you.
If you like Metallica and Pantera, but you aren't ready for Cannibal Corpse, listen to Lamb of God for like a month.
Absolutely.
Yet again, drawing a blank on the name of the front man here.
Randy Blythe.
Thank you.
Dr. Randy Blythe.
Doctor.
Dude, he's putting together his own festival in Richmond, like, soon. Some friends of ours are playing. Yeah, we're going to go up.
That ain't that far of a drive.
Nope.
Yeah. Anyways, the thing I appreciate about Lamb of God 2 is it has enough rasp in the vocals. I feel like metal, if you took vocals out of death metal and like if you took vocals out of Cannibal Corpse, somebody could find a groove. Regardless of who you are, they can find a groove to that. They can understand the rhythms to it. It is when you get into the harder vocals of it, is when it is hard to connect with. Randy Blythe has the perfect mix between rasp and actual hearing the vocals of it. And his range is beyond stupid to be able to have such a clean sound with the different rasp and tones to it.
And that's totally on purpose too, you know, from watching DVDs over the years and just like watching his process through like either social media or just like seeing them live. You know, he takes it like serious enough to the point where he knows he wants to like sound good. And I don't know, it's just there's just something about that, you know. But also I listen to bands that sound literally like the vocals are like clenching buttholes over a toilet. So it's like, you know, taste is subjective, right? But no, like as far as you know, I mean, it's totally on purpose. And the guy he writes, his lyrics are always fucking awesome. They're never like, they're never just like kind of phoned in.
Even when he was at some of the darker points in his life, his lyricism was still really, really deep and insightful. Honestly,
still about the it's all about that truth, man. And as far as metal vocalists go, Randy's like that guy, you know.
But Rain, I know what you're referring to is when you have some of those extreme and harsh vocalists that still have a tonal quality, that still know how to bring that like
they can like pitch
that melodic pitch in there. Yeah, that's because like Randy actually can sing, which he like revealed 7 albums in or something like that.
Yeah,
you know, and so you do have guys like that too, where you really, you know, get that element, and that's a subliminal thing for a listener because everybody kind of goes in their heavy music journey. Most people don't start listening to I don't know, like to a dying fetus, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
that.
if it was after Lamb of God to take the next step, where are we going?
Shoot, well, so you're talking about a certain time period too, you know. I kind of think about my own journey. But it would definitely be the bands that were kind of singing and screaming because, and I'm talking about the metalcore stuff, because over time that got heavier.
Yep.
You know, Lamb of God's a heavy band, but like you start to get to a certain point where like these are younger bands, so they got more to prove, so everyone's trying to just be a little bit more extreme. And so those kind of bands kind of went either route. They either like just stopped screaming vocals and stopped breakdowns and stuff, and they became like metalcore dad music. And I don't want that to come off as like a slight, but it's the best way I can describe it. And then the bands that didn't do that, they just got heavier, I feel like. Dude,
I think you're actually calling out a really important thing that happened for our generation, actually, which was the metalcore movement. Because, like, a lot of us, like, I came up as, like, you know, we came up as, like, new metal kids. It's, like, Mudvayne, Static X. We already had grown up with, like, Rage Against the Machine and
Rob
Tool
Zombie.
and Led Zeppelin, Rob Zombie.
Deftones,
and then in the mid-2000s, you start getting, like, your Killswitch Engage type stuff. And, like, As I Lay Dying and Avenged Sevenfold. And those bands would have some of these elements that come from more edgy, outlying areas, like thrash elements and death metal elements that start creeping in. to like draw you to the next
I would
area.
like to touch on that as well. So the metalcore back in like 2000s, early 2000s to me, and this is how you kind of start working your way towards the more extreme stuff. Metalcore to me has always been kind of viewed as the American brother or sister of across the ocean melodic death metal. So melodic death metal, if you start to listen to bands like At the Gates or In Flames or Soilwork, Dark Tranquility is another one that's brought up a lot. They're really melodic, they're really thrashy, really melodic. They got hooks, but they're screaming. So in America, when the metalcore movement really popped off, like everybody was like releasing banger records. It seemed like every 2 years or so. They were that style of riffs, it was almost like a mirror to me. I was just really into it. And they would sing more and whatnot. So that's it's kind of funny how like an American brand, or not a brand, but like a version of it. At least that's how I viewed it.
The Americana style.
Yeah, it was a thing, and they keep saying these things like At the Gates style riffing. I'm like, I've never heard of At the Gates. What is At the Gates? It pushed me into different directions. So that's a really interesting point to hear you make, actually, dude, because I obviously know you as one of my friends who's super into like Gothenburg style and mellow death type shit, but I didn't really get exposed to that until I was like in my 20s. Like I said, kind of like grew up in that small town place where everybody was still listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that's it, and but then when I was actually playing in Bandits, our drummer Phil was all like, his favorite band was probably Soilwork, and he got me into Scar Symmetry. Oh yeah. And I started listening to bands like Sonic Syndicate and all this other mellow death type stuff. And I was still really into a lot more melodic stuff at that point in time anyway, because I was a leftover nu metal kid for a long time, and I still am. I'll probably be that till I'm still like listening to Limp Bizkit and Korn on the reg anyway, bro. So and see, like metalcore, it's got that core element, so it's got these big heavy parts. Most people refer to them as breakdowns. I think they're still called breakdowns. I don't think that's ever changed. But
isn't Domination by Pantera considered the first ever real breakdown?
And there's also a breakdown in Rain and Blood. It's like towards the end of the song.
Right.
And
you're goddamn right.
There's Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath has a breakdown. I could probably find it for you, but
can I throw a hand up here? Would you classify Mr. Crowley's intro, let me rephrase that, solo number 2 and outro as a breakdown, or is it a solo? Because
you can have both at the same time.
Yeah.
We can have both of them.
That's a great thing about rock and roll. You don't
Come on in, baby. Yeah.
The rules.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's and with going over all these genres, like it's just trying to keep chart of like shared history. We came up in that time, and I think it's every decade has their own thing going on. So for like heavy metal music, particularly at that time, it was a really good wave to ride. Oh yeah, because there was so much. There was a band for everybody, and if you wanted, in like a heavy metal context, you had flavors of like everything. It was just a really good time.
It was the Baskin Robbins era.
Dude, it was pretty crazy. Everybody was getting signed. MySpace was, bands were able to like operate pretty much even more DIY than they had been previously in the extreme stuff, that kind of scene. Bands like they literally had their own page, and that was that was huge for back in the day.
Well, we kind of grew up like off of MySpace, seeing the evolution of like Rise Records at that point in time, which was like super core.
Let's
for years.
Go ahead and date ourselves too. Shout out Tom.
Oh yeah, Tom.
Dude, Tom is still out there, bro. Dude, I still think Tom's going to come back and save us.
I actually Googled Tom not too long ago. Just Google Tom, see how Tom's doing. I think you'll be kind of surprised, but shocked but not surprised, if that makes any sense.
Does he like own a bunch of strip clubs now or something?
And every picture he
definitely lives in Florida.
Every picture of him it's like on the first 5 pictures on the picture search, it's like him in a hat. but it's different times, and the hat doesn't fit quite well, and it's
What kind of hat are we talking about here?
like a truck,
ball
like a
cap,
truck,
trucker-
like a like a ballpark or a trucker cap. Maybe there's like two caps.
Dude, I feel like Tom's a big Buc-ee's guy.
Yeah,
I feel like he's there. He's there for the jerky and the brisket sandwich to get out of there.
Yeah.
I had my first Buc-ee's experience in 2020 during the pandemic. At the time, I was on an operations team for a J. Crew contact center, right? And they had another contact center down in San Antonio, and I had, over the work chat, like Microsoft, like Teams and shit like that, I had befriended some folks who lived at the San Antonio site and made plans to visit them. And then the pandemic happened and COVID, and I was like, everything I wanted to do this year has fallen apart. I am going to go to San Antonio and go meet these people and have a good time. And I actually went down there, and as soon as I went down there, they took me to Buc-ee's, man, and I had like 6 kind of jerky on me, man. It was crazy. It was like a wonder world of jerky, bro.
I've not been to Buc-ee's, but I know like there's a few people at work that are like, they come in these awesome Buc-ee's shirts. I'm like, that's a cool tie-dye shirt, man. And it's like Buc-ee's. I'm like, oh man, another one of these. And people have Buc-ee's cups and shit. I'm like, I really, so Wawa is like my Buc-ee's, and it's like boring as shit compared to Buc-ee's, I'm sure. But everybody's got their own destination, right, where they go gas up and snack up,
All right. Hot button topic here. I feel like Buc-ee's is a gas station that had a baby with a Cracker Barrel that had a baby with a Waffle House.
Yeah, and
there's a niche,
and their uncle was a graphic artist.
Oh, absolutely. Now, granted,
the iconic.
I will say this: if you
feel like it's more like Truck Stop Shoney's, bro.
Truck Stop Shoney's.
Great song name, by the way.
Yeah,
there's a country song that just needs to be written about a Truck Stop Shoney's.
It's Appalachian psychobilly acid rock.
So I think this might be the first time in history here. But I think we're going to take a second break real quick.
Yeah, I'm feeling that.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
And to be 100% transparent, got to use the bathroom. So we'll be back here in just a second. Alrighty. So we are back now. So we definitely covered a lot of topics today. Definitely think there is a lot more to unbox in the future. So let's go ahead and dive into metal genres. So there is there's about 157 of them.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. We could go off on a whole tangent on that human impulse to categorize everything as like a control tactic almost, I mean, like in society and stuff.
I do feel like there is valid lore there, though.
No, you're right.
Like
you're right.
Bands
you're
at
right.
different times, different places, doing different things.
Influences
like,
and influence. Sure. Yeah, no, it's a real thing too. I think like you'll have some guys who like totally nerd out on it and get super obsessive, but I mean, it's a real thing. Where do we start? Influences, or what do you think?
I mean, first of all, let's just go ahead and jump into it. What do you think could be consolidated in that era of them? Like, because there is so many niche. There's metalcore, there's death metal, there is X, Y, Z, B, all the way through. So if you could take two genres and feel very, very comfortable of just smashing them together and saying there is difference, yes, but it's not enough to go out for it.
Extreme metal and hair metal. I think I would just take those two, and then I feel like you would know what you're getting into either way.
Yeah.
If I had to pick.
Always thinking.
Oh no, man! I was thinking like you could just say like even just saying like extreme metal that includes like what your grindcore, your death metal,
yeah.
And then even death metal, you've got melodic death metal, you've got technical death metal,
you've got blackened death metal, and then like you just keep adding tags.
This is actually a great way to segue into the fact that we're really in a big deathcore revival right now. So let's talk about deathcore, right? You got hardcore, which grew out of hardcore punk, which was the most extreme end of the punk era. You know, you have like your Black Flags and shit like that, and move into hardcore punk. Eventually, then splitting off into real hardcore music, which has some more metallic elements in it.
For sure.
That's where you get like your metalcore and then your deathcore movement. So, like, I feel like really when I first started getting into the scene around here was really in, like, banger early deathcore days, for sure. Like, you know, the 2000s and late
2010s
and early 2010s, yeah. And there was really, like, predominant kind of deathcore stylings you heard over and over again everywhere. And those bands like Suicide Silence that were massive at the time. Now we've gone, like, a good 15 years later, and there's this incredible new wave of deathcore happening, where you still are taking elements of death metal, including your technical death metal, your old school death metal, all that shit, you know, everything from like Carcass to Job for a Cowboy, and then also taking elements of hardcore, everything from your like your Hatebreed and all the way to like your Knock
Terror.
Loose and Terror and shit like that, everything all across the board. We're kind of seeing a reshuffling of the ingredients, and we're seeing new kinds of deathcore that sound completely different from the deathcore from like a decade or so ago.
It goes on both sides too. So like even the more what I would call traditional, like these younger bands like 200 Stab Wounds and the Bog. I can never say their name.
Single Sugar Bog.
Thank you, my man.
Yeah, baby.
I just call them the Bog because it's just I can't do it.
Yeah.
But I could call them like more like a throwback, old school death metal, right? Stuff from the 90s, but they're playing, like, all these bands are playing together all the time, and it's really awesome to see. Like, I love it when bands can play two different types of shows, and what I mean by that is, like, there's a hardcore show, you know, or like everyone wants to see hardcore music, so they're going to book it, but there's a lot of crossover, so there's a lot of crossover right now. There's bands that sound more hardcore, but then there's bands that sound more death metal, and then there's modern deathcore bands that like Paleface Swiss.
It's like intersectional
It's
as fuck,
insane.
dude. Yeah.
And there's also like this new metal. I don't know if new metal ever really went away from me. It didn't.
Absolutely not.
But
Absolutely
like,
not.
you listen to like Paleface Swiss, it's almost like a younger, harder edge Slipknot sometimes, and it's really just crazy to see like all the crazy shit people are trying to push. And like have all these big breakdowns and like drops. I don't know. It's a good time to be into like heavy groovy music.
It's so like Rain, you broached the topic of talking about subgenres, and really that's what we're kind of stumbling upon here, is that subgenres feed in and out of each other over and over again, and it becomes like this incredible web. And that's why you'll have your metalheads that'll go and like listen to System of a Down and listen to like, I don't know, like Lorna Shore in the same day, and because it's still all so connected and everything becomes a part of each other, just like the culture does. And that's one thing that makes it so special, and why people outside of it just will never get it either. You know,
it's like this beast that you just kind of, if you're into metal or like any heavy rock, you're into this whole thing where it's like you want it to like, it's never gonna leave you. It's always there. You can always like throw in some awesome fucking tunes. But for like heavy metal stuff, it's usually because people are like, there's some sort of struggle, or else the shit wouldn't have to sound so extreme, right? So there's like more human elements and like that truth of like, with death metal it's a little different. It's a lot of tongue in cheek and shit's gross for no reason, because it's like at that point you can literally do whatever you want.
Well, and two, it's one of
know,
those as far as expressing somebody's self.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's tons of heavy ass music that definitely express it, you know, is more thought out than just the gore lyrics. But sometimes the gore lyrics are awesome too, especially if you're a fan of horror movies and stuff. You know,
that's where we get to the extreme metal side, where you try to explain it to people, and you have to say like it is the horror genre of music.
Yeah.
Which is where that whole unspoken connection between death metal, extreme metal, and horror culture also comes into play as well, dude.
It's like when you're talking to that guy who's like, "Hey man, I love heavy metal. I fucking love Metallica," and you're like, if that you were to translate to the horror, it would be like, "Yeah man, I'm a fucking horror fan. I love that first Saw movie," and it's like, awesome movie, but that's a weird pick for your first movie. You know what I mean? So it's like, you kind of, like the man, there's so many fucked up like album covers that I've come across just from my quest of like.
Well, and I don't know exactly what type of hard rock / metal-ish territory Ice Nine Kills falls in.
Very horror movie, but just not done like.
It falls into the category of
different.
what goth chicks love, is what it calls it.
Yeah, but I mean, if somebody told me that they wanted to get into something a little bit heavier than just what they hear on the radio, but they love horror movies, that would be the number one band I would turn them to. Is something that they could relate to.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're going to put a mix on, and then you're going to find out some Lamb of God, and then you're going to find out a little bit deeper cuts of different things to be able to kind of let them explore their own metality.
You're right, because like they're the ones who brought in like Terrifier and everything like that too. So if you like this kind of stuff and you also want to listen to some heavier music, because then you open the door and you realize that same kind of extreme feeling of fear and risk and danger is something you can also experience through music exclusively, and then realize that there's a whole other world for people like that to discover, and maybe they're into it but they don't know. You know, like my twin sister, as actually now that we're in our 30s, in recent years, she has started to go through a big awakening of realizing she loves horror films and metal music. You know, and like I've been like here the whole time, you know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, you love it, you just don't know it, and there's lots of people like that out there. So
if there was a metal stereotype that you would want to get rid of, what would it be? Aaron just straight pointed at Steve-O and was like, "You taking this one, dog?"
I guess I don't know. We're in such a time. I don't even know. Yeah. What do people even think of metalheads in 2025? I haven't thought of this.
It's hard to say, and also I really embrace how wild and diverse the world is. So even if I can't get down with something, I'm kind of happy to see somebody having a good time out there a lot of the time. Well, I mean, there's always been, since like the old days, like before we were born, there was a big push by the government and established society to say that people who like metal music are unintelligent and, you know, all that kind of shit. Which is just like, you know, saying because someone has a southern drawl, maybe they're stupid too. It's just, it's more absolutely. About, I don't know, it's about being like, I mean, fuck the man, honestly. You know, there are these stereotypes that are projected by these monolithic entities in society that are really just trying to maybe try and steer us away from the things that are more provocative, because nobody wants you to think that much.
Talking about psyops and psyops. I mean, the whole thing where if we were ever considered, I don't even know, man. It's just like people at that point, you know, people listening to music. It's not. I feel like there is a big sense of community, but at the end of the day, you know, like we all just want to have a good time. And the thing is, like people thinking that there's something negative about listening to like music that definitely I understand. If you've never heard before, you probably think it's insane, like why only a maniac would want to listen to this crazy shit.
I think I have a good answer to your question now, Rain, actually.
Take it away, brother.
I think the stereotype I would remove would be that broader cultural stereotype you see of the metalhead being the school shooter type person.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because you think about a lot of the conversations we had earlier tonight about that sense of community and having the other guys back and knowing that somebody's your brother because you're there enjoying the same thing, and understanding that kind of really deeper cultural kind of connection and that familial kind of aspect that's there. That's actually what it's about. And people who are normies may view a lot of these things outwardly as kind of threatening, and they'll want to associate it with being like the guy who's rolling into the parking lot at work listening to Cannibal Corpse is the guy who we're afraid is going to come shoot the place up. But that's actually the guy who's going to like come over and like change your tire for you and give you a ride, or if you're too drunk at the bar, he's going to make sure you get home safe or something like that. That's what I would dispense with. That's what I get rid of.
In two, I would say it falls in, for me, I guess it's also kind of a like, you know, geographical area that we're in. I really feel like there's more good than bad out there. in the world in general. I think some people wear black death metal band shirts. Some people wear plaid, or like me right now wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Like there is still good people out there, and I feel like being in the southern hospitality aspect of it is we get to see a lot of the good out of the world. And just because somebody is, like you said, the guy listening to Cannibal Corpse or X, Y, or Z of any other band, just because he likes that music, he's still going to be that dude to help you change your tire. And, you know, hey, how's mom and them guy? So, yeah. Well, I think on that note, fellas, I think we're going to wrap this one up. There's a lot more here. There's a lot more meat on this bone to chew on, trust me. I've had a absolute blast. Steve, really can't appreciate you enough for letting me come and invade your house and kind of do this.
Man. Anytime.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Aaron. I appreciate you making the trip out here. One more shout out, if y'all want to go ahead and give it out to the band, go ahead and kind of let us know what's going on. I know that this is still the building blocks of things, but
coming soon to a theater near you.
It's Corruptor. This summer. Featuring ex-members of Gamora, Colonist, Brain Cell, and the Handsome Bandits.
You're not going to want to miss this.
They still exist.
They're coming for you.
They aren't too strung out yet.
oh, that
and Kenny got jacked.
Everyone's getting jacked.
Everyone's getting jacked. 2026, everyone's getting jacked. Write it down.
Dude, I love it. On that note, I think we're out of here, fella.
Rain, thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
it's always a pleasure to see you,
blast.
man. It's always a total delight. Yeah, like, I mean, anytime, man. I hope we'll have many more sessions like this for sure.
Dude, I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
On that note, we will see y'all later.